morning, everyone. Thanks for coming and participating once again. Today is our last day of the Backyard Gardening Project. It's amazing how time flies when you're having fun. I can't imagine that so much the month has passed already. So today what we're going to do before we get into our graduation ceremony, because we have some tokens for you all for participating with us. So what we want to do is that we're going to have Dawn from the Ministry of Agriculture continue our lesson before we go into the field and get our hands involved for the last time with us here as part of the program. So thank you all once again for being here throughout the duration of the program, and we look forward to some more fun today as well. Okay, thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me for these few weeks, and I hope that what we have done, that you will take away something and you'll be successful backyard farmers. So thanks for coming again, and thanks for having Romeo and myself. Romeo is on another assignment, but his heart is here with us. Today we are going to look at harvesting, and I'll just touch briefly on post-harvesting, everything that is done after you have harvested your crops. And I know that we have ventured into backyard farming because we want to get something out of it, like we said, to save money and also to gain some money if we can. So today we are going to look into harvesting of our crops. And to have harvesting of good produce and to have all of the activities of post-harvesting, everything that happens after the harvest, we must have proper maintenance of our crops to carry us to those two levels. So the quality of products we produce in the field is very important. So we go from the development, which is the farming that we have done, onto our mature crops, and to the ripening of our crops. And here we have sweet peppers. When is the right time to harvest? The right time to harvest, first you must know the characteristics of your crop. You must know something about your crop. You have to know what is the color of your crop. You have to know everything about your crop. So here we have tomatoes. And the right time to harvest your tomatoes, we see that they're coming in different growth stages. And if you have a tomato that is red, you know the right time to harvest would be when it is starting to turn red. If you have a yellow tomato, the characteristic is yellow, you know that the right time to harvest will be when it starts to turn yellow. So when is the right time to harvest? As you can see, this sweet pepper moves from green onto the ripe stage, which is red. The time of the day, the equipment we are using, and the storage is very important. So let's look at the time of the day.
Next.
Some crops, you have to be very particular in when you harvest them. The time of the day is important because you don't want to harvest your crop and then it withers and everything is distorted and it does not get to the market as a proper, attractive produce. The equipment that you use and the way we store them, we place them before they go to the market. Or we may place them in the refrigerator, or some crops you don't have to do that. Some crops you may be able to put them into a bun. You may be able to, like crops like sweet potatoes. They don't need to put a sweet potato or an English potato in the refrigerator. We can put that outside or into a safe bun from pests and rodents and other things that will attack that crop. Here we have harvesting of lettuce. It's important that we have the proper equipment, the proper tools to harvest your crop. Let's say you were harvesting this lettuce with a knife that was dull. We know that it is possible then to sever or to cut off the leaves and pull up and discard the whole attractiveness of the crop. So here we are harvesting lettuce. We're cutting close to the base without destroying the leaves. So therefore, our tool, which is our knife, should be very sharp. Here we are harvesting chive, and here we have something such that resembles a scissors. It's called a secateur, but to have a clean, attractive cut, for if you have to sell it, we are using the right tool here, which is a scissors. Remember, chive, how the chive develops is that the root remains, and you cut or you sever the vegetative part, which is the green part of the chive, and then it regenerates. It grows back again as you put your fertilizer, in this case chive, so you want a good balance of fertilizer that is high in nitrogen, the end that we spoke about earlier in one of our lessons. So once you cut off this chive, and notice where we are cutting it. We are cutting it leaving about 2 inches above the soil. Then it regenerates and gives you some more production. Here we have what seems to be thyme and parsley. We are cutting it with a scissors, a sharp tool, so that you do not disrupt your thyme from the soil. So your tools are very important. Picture that you go to harvest this thyme with a knife that is not sharp enough. You can disrupt the roots from the soil, when in fact your thyme should remain as you cut it so that it will regenerate. It grows again just as the chive does. Harvesting of your herbs, this is your parsley, your celery. These are also crops that continue to grow. And look what we're seeing. We're cutting it above the starter leaves. Those are your first leaves that you will see that comes out when you sow your plants into the seedling tray. So clearly we see you cut it above. If you go too high, it means you are removing a lot of the stalk, because when we use parsley and celery, we use the stalk as a vegetative part of the plant that we eat. So if you cut it too high, then you leave you would have reduced your yield or your weight. Again, using the correct tool. Harvesting tubers like cassava on your left, and we have sweet potato on your right. And we have to know what is the characteristic of the particular variety of sweet potato or cassava. How wide does it grow in the soil? There are tubers that are elongated. They grow very straight into the ground, but there are others that are spread across a wider surface of soil, depth of soil. So once you are familiar with your variety that you have planted, then you know well where you're going to submerge your harvesting tool. In this case, for the digging of sweet potatoes and the cassavas, we use forks. And the whole reason for knowing the characteristic and how your plant grows and develops into the ground is that for marketable purposes, you don't want to punch the tuber. You want it to remain intact. You want it to be well placed and solid as you reap it and marketable. If you punch it, you know somebody may say, well, perhaps a rodent bit that, insects attack that, they're not going to buy it, and even your friends may not want to take it. And as we learned before, that is some diseases come into plants after they have been harvested. So if you punch your crops, if they are damaged, we learned before that that is where your diseases or your insects can enter. Your bacteria can enter and spoil or destroy your harvest. Here we have carrots. These are also crops that grow under the ground. And carrots, we normally will, to determine if a carrot is ready to be harvested, they start to rise out of the soil, right? And the larger your stem, the base of your vegetable here, the larger that is, that determines if the readiness of your carrot to be harvested. If you have a very thin stalk, you can most likely say that that carrot is not grown to the desired size. But so carrots, you do selective harvesting of carrots, meaning that you don't pull off your carrots because they are 3 months old, because it takes carrots 3 months to develop from the sowing of your seed directly into the soil, because we do not place them in trays like how we grow the tomatoes and so into trays. We place them, just as we place beans, directly into the soil. So, as we have learned before, we normally will time our crops. We know how long it takes for them to develop from the seed to be harvested. In this case, the carrot takes 3 months. But you don't go and say, well, my carrots are 3 months, so let me pull out my carrots. As long as you leave the ones that are not fully developed into the soil, they will develop into the right harvesting size that will give you more weight, more money, and the desired size for that particular variety. So what we do with the carrots is that we select them. And like I say, the bigger your stalk, you can determine then that it is likely that the carrot underneath is large. You leave the ones that have the small stalks and you harvest them later. This is the mango. Like I said, you always follow the characteristics of your crop. And I don't know if they have mangoes that ripen at this color, because there are different ways in which you can know when your crops are ready. You know by the time that they were planted until the time that you know that that crop is supposed to be harvested, right? Some crops you know because of the color change on the tree, and the season in which you have planted them, the size that your mango will grow. So you know that your mango is a medium-sized mango. Then you can bet that as long as it starts to turn its color and it has become a medium size, that mango is ready to be picked. So you need to know your varieties and what allows you to know that they are ready to be harvested. No. We have strawberries. As you can see, the strawberry is turning its color, and you can say that that is another feature that will indicate to you that your strawberries are soon ready to be harvested at the right phase. So you see they're gradually turning until they are ripe. It's not to say that because you have apples and you see apples that are normally, or strawberries that are normally red, that all of your varieties are going to be red. Like I said, know about your characteristics, because you may very well have a yellow strawberry. So you can't say, well, this strawberry not red because it's yellow. You have to know that the redness of that strawberry may be a bright yellow. You know, because of genetics, and we have genetically modified crops that may have different colors. Like you may find a black onion, you know, things like that. You may find a chocolate looking tomato. So you have to know something about your crops. Just remember that. Okay, we touched a little on ethylene. Ethylene is a gas that is given off of fruits and vegetables. So, we won't go on all of the characteristics there. Just know that ethylene, you need to research a little on it. And here we are presenting to you ethylene producers and ethylene sensitive crops. And what this means is that we have crops that give off this gas, readily give off the gas ethylene that ripens the fruit. So what actually ripens your bananas is this gas. So if we are going to store our vegetables, it is very important that you respect the effects of ethylene gas. So if you go and you have a banana that is ripening, it's changing its color and sending out this gas, the tomatoes, which are ethylene producers, and you place it beside your cucumbers that are supposed to be green, that gas will start to ripen your cucumber, which makes it undesirable for your market. Your market color is green. It's not yellow. Although the cucumber or the cabbage or the lettuce or the snap beans and the eggplant and the broccoli and the sweet potato that we see here, if they're exposed to these crops that send off the gas, although they may remain firm, your market will not respect that is a healthy cabbage or a healthy cucumber or a healthy pea. It's edible, although it may not be the desired color, but your market will not want that. It wants that broccoli to be the broccoli color that you desire. You want the eggplant to be purple, if that is the color that your eggplant is supposed to be. If it's a yellow eggplant, who wants that? The hotel may want a yellow eggplant, but they would know that it's supposed to be yellow and not a distorted looking color that's away from the characteristic because of the exposure to the ethylene gas that ripens the fruit, turns the color of the fruit. And that's why it's important, if you place them in the fridge, that you separate them. And when you get into big farming, and you have to store your stuff at Bajan and that kind of stuff, you have to be mindful to tell the store person, you want it in the right temperature, and you also want it placed away from ethylene producers so that your crop will be the market color, the market acceptable color. Right. This chart is just a very short chart. Perhaps you can go on the net and you can look up for this chart. This chart is actually is telling you the temperatures that your crops are supposed to be stored at, so they remain so that they go through their full storage life or your full shelf life, as we have here on the right. And it says here, we choose beans. Beans should be at a temperature of 5 to 7 degrees Celsius, and the storage life after you have picked that bean can be for 7 to 10 days if it is under that temperature. So let me choose another crop. I see here courgettes. That is zucchini. But I have a little question here on what they have here, because they have here that the zucchini or the courgette will last for 5 to 14 days under a temperature of 10 degrees Celsius. That doesn't mean much to you, that particular temperature, right? But I know for a fact that if your zucchini is harvested and is healthy, that's what's important to grow your crops, give them the right adequate amount of fertilizer and all that to make them healthy. The zucchini can last for about 3 weeks. For about 3 weeks on the storage, and it still remains market acceptable. But anyhow, I think that's my last slide. Damien, is it? No, we're showing a broccoli that was stored under not the right temperature. We're saying the temperature was supposed to be 4 degrees Celsius, and the broccoli remains green. Over here on the left, it may look like a disease, but it's not a disease. Remember, we're dealing with harvesting and after the harvest. After you have harvested your broccoli, you place it under the wrong condition, it practically return it down. Not that you cannot eat it, but that's for home use. That's not for giving away or going to the market. So what we want to appreciate and respect, firstly, we must grow our crops, have proper maintenance and agronomic agricultural practices that our crops will be healthy. Then we are identifying that we must harvest them the right way, and then we must store them under the right temperature that will keep your crops marketable or edible. So thank you very much. It was very short.
Any questions?
Once you place in harvesting and post-harvesting of any crop you are interested in, the net has all of that information there. So just anything you want to ask in agriculture, you can bring your videos, how to grow them. You know, go on YouTube and you plug in everything, and there's a wealth of information so that you can continue your farming.
I got a question. You mentioned chives, how you can harvest chives about 2 inches above the soil. How long you could go through that cycle before you have to replace the plant?
Well, I believe that once you care it, once you put the proper nutrients, continue to foliar feed, which is the fertilizer that goes through the leaves to these crops, especially like the herbs, the onions, the chive, the celery, they will continue to regenerate as long as you care them. And you place your dung and your fertilizers. Just the leafy crops, like we spoke about in one of the first lessons, we give them more of that nitrogen. The N must be the bigger number. But we must also continue to replenish the roots as well. So you buy a fertilizer that that goes along with how the crop develops. Sometimes you have a crop that will send out a lot, you want blossoms and fruiting. Then remember that your last number should be bigger of those 3 numbers. Not that you wouldn't apply the others. You will continue to give them some nitrogen, some phosphorus, but your potash, once it is beginning to fruit, you want your potash to be the larger number. Always remember that. And you have your cabbage, your celery, your lettuce, you want them to have more leaves. So you give them the bigger number, which the nitrogen will be the bigger number, plus a smaller amount of your potash. And a little bit of your phosphorus will continue to develop the roots. And like we said, you can place these fertilizers either through the leaf, or you can give them through the root.
Hi, good morning everyone. I'm really happy to be here. This is our very last session, and I'm going to miss coming here on Fridays and seeing each of you and learning some more from Dawn and from Damien. I think it's been a wonderful exercise, and I'm glad that we've been able to do this. Today is the final, and I think that each of our participants should feel extremely proud coming every week and participating, having questions, and just being so actively engaged in this process. I just want to say first up that I'm super proud of each and every one of you, and I'm looking forward to learning and seeing so much more from your personal gardens at home. So we're coming here, this is the end, and I just want to say thank you. This is my vote of thanks, per se. I want to say thank you first of all to the Irving Wilson School and to Miss Aline for facilitating this program and having us here, the use of the cafeteria. I want to say thank you to all the ladies at the back of this room who have just been so supportive and helping to keep the kids quiet when they come in, because they know that we're here doing something very important for moving forward in our lives. I want to say thank you to Marcia, to Damien, and to Julius from IICA for facilitating this and being so open-minded. This is something that they've never done before with this particular group. And I think that's just been a really great exchange between communities. I want to say thank you to the Ministry of Agriculture, Dawn, and Romeo, who wasn't able to be here today, for sharing their expertise. I do not have green fingers, but I can tell you that I'm so much better at this So thank you also to Bonnie. A lot of times people, they have these types of conferences and they have the interpreters and they forget to thank the interpreters. I am not one of those people because Bonnie is super important for facilitating communication, and access is something that's very important for my deaf friends. So thank you, Bonnie, for being here and just being willing to be a part of this and fitting us into your schedule. But without further ado, we have some gifts. I love giving gifts and Christmas is around the corner. And I just want to give these certificates of participation to my friends who came here every single Friday. And in no particular order, I'm going to invite you to come forward and to receive your gifts. I'm going to call the names. Marcia is going to bring all the bags here so that we can have an easy flow and easy process. These are some gifts that are coming from IICA. And these gifts are for your home garden. You know, at first I thought that they were going to help us build it, but I realized that they did help us build it. They gave us all the knowledge that we needed. 1 second. So these gifts that are coming here today, these are our home gardens in a bag. I thought they were going to be helping us build them, but as I said just now, they did help us build them. Every single week, going into the garden and demonstrating and showing us that we can use anything that's around us to make our gardens beautiful and to make our gardens work. So I hope that when you take your bag home this evening, you're going to remember coming here and everything that we've learned and feel a sense of pride and ownership for your new gardens. Take tons of photos. Send me your photos because I would love to be updated. I'll send photos of mine. And we're going to just see what we can grow by Christmas, yeah? So in no particular order, Suanna Marshall, come and get your award. You should bring all the bags closer. I want to say thank you.
You can do that yourself.
Yes, thank you. Alicia Wharton. So just say the name.
Waveney Reed Davis.
Say thank you.
Ethylene Smith. Ethylene Smith. Margot Griffith. Margot is the station at the back of the room. Consistently
Very
shows
busy,
it.
you see.
That's right. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank
Get
you.
out and do it with us.
This presentation that we have right now, this is very special. This young man has gone above and beyond for this program. Dario Nightingale is very hardworking. He is so creative and, and full of ideas. And we appreciate Dario immensely. Dario, this is the last presentation, but you are by far not the least of anyone. And we love you and we want to say thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah?